Are you listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other platform where you can leave a rate or review? Do you like what we're doing? If the answer to all of that is yes, please consider quickly giving us a 5-star rate. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a nice review, we greatly appreciate that as well. Okay, let's do this.
Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 334 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 62 of A Dance with Dragons, which is The Sacrifice.
And as always, we'll chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you, unless, of course, you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers. Well, if you listen to that episode, then we are going to spoil things for you, but regardless, hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news in the list of correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide additional information about the geography and characters in this chapter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Ethan flies in. Well, I think he's in the air right now. He lands in about an hour plus, hour and some change, so that's very exciting.
That is exciting.
And as you can hear, silence.
I don't hear anything, but I didn't really hear much last week either. So,
well, there was a lot of noise. Trust me. The floors, the carpets were just put down today.
Oh, fine.
And that theoretically ends the work. The hardwood folks have to come back and do a little touch up, but otherwise, we should be done. I guess.
Glad for you. I'm glad for you.
Yeah, me too. How about you? There's a laundry list of topics here, so I'm just going to sit back and enjoy.
I was putting them in there, and I was like, we probably will have to break this up over a couple of weeks, because there's so many good... Like, everybody had a good story this week, so...
Perfect.
So the first one, I'll tell you, I'm going to confidently predict that this hasn't happened to you in a long time.
Where could this story be going? There's so many possibilities.
But not since I've known you. So, the stairs nearest to my office at work, when I come down the stairs, I alight in the middle of the cafeteria.
Yep, I know exactly where you
know exactly
alight.
what I mean.
Yes.
And the other day, I was coming down the stairs, and whenever I'm going to the cafeteria, I have a spring in my step. You know me,
sure.
I like my food.
Uh-huh.
And I swung around the last step and swung around the corner, and I went face to face with a lady. I didn't know this lady, but we almost smashed faces together. We both hit the brakes and went, ugh! And I, being English, what would I say?
My apologies.
Yes,
so sorry. Yes.
You're on the right lines. I'm like, yes. I'm so sorry. And she, not being English, didn't have that in her repertoire. She said, you have lovely hair.
Well, that is unusual. That is not the usual refrain in that situation.
It was a strange thing to say. It was kind of reminding me of the Seinfeld episode when they were saying, you are so good looking when people sneeze, you know.
Yeah, that's right. That's the new thing you say when you almost run into somebody.
Oh, you have lovely hair.
You have lovely hair.
What was funny was, so I had 3 places I was going to in the cafeteria, and everywhere I went, I bumped into her again, not as literally as the first time.
Right.
And so the third time, I eventually apologized. I said, look, I'm sorry. You pay me one compliment, and then I just follow you around like a puppy for the rest of your life. You know?
Just waiting for more. Just putting your hands through your locks.
Yeah, she wasn't laughing anymore at this point, I tell you.
Well, I can see why you said that that hasn't happened to me in a long time.
No, well, I bet they say other nice things about you.
Yeah, do they? Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I'll try.
Oh my God, you're John Krasinski.
You look like a pale Derek Jeter.
Do you ask them? Do you have to say pale?
If you get me in the right light, maybe my skin takes on a little bit of a tannish look, but not much.
So my other good story, I will save the other 2 for later. But my other good story that I really liked was Rob. Rob is visiting Mum. So Rob lives in France.
Okay.
Rob's my brother.
Yeah.
He's visiting France. He lives in France, but he's visiting my mother in England.
Right.
And it was Easter weekend, and my mother is a practicing Catholic, and her children are various levels of dissent from this. Rob is not a big churchgoer, but because he's there with his mother on Easter Sunday, he's going to go to mass with his mother.
Right.
So
yeah.
She used to have a church like quarter of a mile from her house, but churches have consolidated in England because people don't go to church very much.
How many hedges is that? About
it's quite a few hedges, let me tell you. You actually have to go past the hedge, so you get a yardstick on the way. You'll be like, oh, I probably walked about 5 of those. That's fine. But so she has to walk about 3/4 of a mile to catch a tram about 4 miles, but then the tram kicks off right in front of the church, so it's not a terribly arduous journey. But my brother was concerned that the weather wasn't great, and it's a bit of 3/4 of a mile. She's in her 80s. He was like, let's just get a taxi to the tram, and we'll get the tram from there. Taxi won't be much for that sort of distance. So he called a taxi company and arranged for a taxi at this particular time so that they would catch the tram to get to mass on time. And he said, this taxi company I called is notorious for not turning up. I was like, well, I'm glad you did your homework there.
You picked the least reliable of the options.
So it gets to the time when the taxi's supposed to be there, and it isn't there yet. Now, the one thing I'll say is, this makes us sound like we live at the end of a country road in the middle of nowhere, but it just so happens that there's very few turns off our road for quite a long way. So my mum said, well, why don't we just walk, because you're walking in the direction of the tram anyway.
Okay.
And the taxi cannot go any other way than straight towards us, so we can just flag it down if it arrives. And that way, if they've completely forgotten us, we're already walking and we'll be at the tram.
Sure,
eventually
I get the
anyway.
logic. Yeah,
there was logic to it. Apart from one thing, so Mum's on the call listening to all this, and she said, but Rob said there was one factor to bear in mind. It was absolutely throwing down with rain.
Oh,
so
no.
they could sit in the house and not get rained
right,
on,
dry and warm.
Rain.
Yeah.
So they walked in the rain. Meanwhile, while they're getting drenched, Rob is on the phone to the taxi company. And he said, hey, the taxi, it's only a few minutes late, but we really needed it on time. Is the taxi coming? And the dispatcher for the taxi company said, yeah, the taxi is coming. It's coming in 58 minutes. The time changed last night.
Oh, no.
They'd forgotten to change it. So they turned around and walked home drenched, because there was no point keeping going, because if they'd gone, they would have been an hour early for mass as well. So.
The time change was this past weekend. We changed weeks ago. That's interesting.
Oh, actually, I think it might have been a week earlier, but she hadn't changed the clocks. And of course, France is out by an hour from England, so Rob was permanently confused.
It's like, I don't know if it's day or night. I don't know what's happening. AM, PM, I can't tell you at this point. Well, I hope they eventually made it.
They made it, and I believe Rob did not spontaneously combust when he crossed the threshold, so that's good.
That's all right. Yeah. He's doing something right. I like it.
Yeah. On the subject of fiery sacrifices to the gods, why don't we get down to business? How did we leave the sacrifice? Well, it sort of depends who the sacrifice is, doesn't it? It would be Asha Greyjoy. Why doesn't he just make her a POV?
I know, she's always got some other title.
You know what? I copied the notes forward from the last Asha chapter, and I said the same thing then. I just left it in. I was like, why doesn't he just make her a POV?
It continues.
Yeah. So last we saw of Asha, she was a prisoner in Stannis' army as it marched on Winterfell. She was befriending her jailer, Ali Mormont, and she was limping on her obviously broken ankle and expecting to die with the rest of them as the army became snowbound 3 days' march from Winterfell. Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
I see no reason not to. Well, Asha watches as men create a pyre in the snow-covered village green. Ali Mormont suggests that she shouldn't. Asha is not the victim this time, but they both know that she will be before long. They've been 3 days from Winterfell for 19 days. Nevertheless, Asha is a daughter of the Kraken, and she'll face the ugliness. Allie doesn't want to watch, however, so Asha gives her permission to leave her unattended. Where's she gonna go? They're cold, having spent the day ice fishing, but the lakes appear to have dried up. Of fish, not of ice. There's plenty of ice.
Good point.
It's much less in the way of fish. 2 poles are eventually pushed into the ground for tonight's fires.
Sir Godfrey Faring leads a prayer to R'hllor. Artos Flint reckons that it's the old gods who need appeasing, and Big Bucket Wool agrees. Red Ralu means nothing here, he says. He thinks the old gods are watching from the island in the lake. An ancient weirwood dominates one of the small islands that dot the lake. Asha and Allie had inspected it a few days earlier, and it was hard for Asha not to see the red sap as frozen blood.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. Back and forth continues about whose god is to blame and whose god can save them. Asha is disgusted by them all. The sacrifices are called forth. Sir Clayton Suggs, Faring's right hand, does the honor. Asha doesn't like Suggs. He has the air of a man who enjoys the barbarity over the ceremony. He loves the flames, not R'hllor. Sir Justin Massey confirms Asha's suspicions, as Clayton often volunteered to help with torture, especially of women.
The snow is unrelenting, covering all buildings apart from the Long Hall, and only its roof shows through. Food is almost non-existent. Horsemeat, fish, and forage roots, all of which are running out. The lords and knights eat most of the horse, leaving almost nothing for the rank and file. No surprise that the 4 men sentenced to the flames are guilty of cannibalism. She's sure they weren't the first to do it, just the first to get caught. They are Lord Peasbury's men, and they are dragged to their deaths naked. The oldest goads Suggs into killing him before he reaches the fires. Asha puts that in the vault for when her time comes. One of the other men weeps and pleads that their victim was already dead.
The men are chained to the stakes. Kindling and lamp oil are applied. Now all that is needed is the king. He'd been aloof for 4 days since his squire Brian Faring died. Since then, he's retreated to his watchtower and has not come out. Stannis arrives, heralded by Richard Horp. The king is accompanied by none other than Arnolf Karstark. The Northmen found them 8 days ago, and he's brought along 400 spears, 40 archers, and 12 mounted lances. But only enough provisions for themselves. The men beg for mercy, but Stannis is unmoved. Sir Godfrey leads another prayer to R'hllor. Sir Corlys Penny lights the pyres, and the men die horribly. Asha is revolted, and I'm sure she wasn't alone. Stannis departs, and Horp guides Arnolf to the longhall.
Although I'm sure some of them moved closer to warm their hands, given how cold they must be.
That's true.
Suggs terrorizes Asha once more about her turn coming soon. He knows that few would try to save her. The Ironborn had crossed the north so many times that she'll get no mercy here. She wants to kill him, but she has no weapon. Ali Mormont steps in, and Justin Massey arrives and announces that Suggs is wrong. The king has other ideas for Asha Greyjoy. Suggs slinks away, and Asha thanks Justin for the help. Mormont has lost her appetite, so Massey and Asha dine together in the warm longhall. Massey and Sir Humphrey Clifton and others argue over whether it's better to stay or go, to remain and try and see out the bad weather, or to go and fight at Winterfell. Neither prospect is very appealing. Horp and Arnolf Karstark join the debate. They think they will take Winterfell and send supplies back to any men unable or unwilling to join them. Justin Massey is a vocal skeptic. Horp questions Massey's courage, who then leaves the hall in a rage.
Asha follows him. He's the only man who'd object to her burning, but she's immediately lost in the snow. She manages to find her way back to the pyres where Suggs is waiting. While he threatens her, she hears horses. Suggs draws his sword as the riders appear and tells Asha to raise the alarm. She thinks there might be about 20 riders, but snow covers any sigils. She asks them who they are. Friends is the reply. It's Tris Botley and other Ironborn back from Winterfell where they expected to find Stannis. Turns out Sybil Glover had ransomed them. Who paid? Another man steps forward. He had coin, he had need of an escort, and Lady Sybil had need of fewer mouths to feed. It was a win all around.
Tycho Nestoris introduces himself as representing the Iron Bank of Bravos. He needs to speak to King Stannis. Asha takes charge and orders Suggs to escort the banker to the king. Tycho Nestoris recognizes her as Asha Greyjoy and tells her that he has a gift for her. At Winterfell, they had found Moor's Umber with a troop of green boys awaiting Stannis' coming, but Umber himself had a prize. A young girl and an old man are dumped before Asha. She recognizes neither. The girl has frostbite on her nose, the man is stick thin. But then he calls her sister, and Asha's heart skips a beat. Theon? He replies, Theon, my name is Theon.
Well, that's progress.
Oh, yeah. He's calling himself Theon. Perhaps
Right.
we can have a POV where he calls himself Theon. Have we had one yet? No, we were close, but not a Theon.
Yeah, was the last one maybe Theon 1?
Maybe.
It might have
I should have
been.
looked that up before we started having that discussion.
Well, it's close enough. We had
Yeah.
many where he was not Theon.
But it is always momentous when two POV characters collide, because it happens
is.
so infrequently. There's so many of them, but the world is so vast that they just don't hit each other very often. And here they are finally, and especially when it's two estranged siblings who actually care
Right.
for each other
Yes, that makes
in
it
their
extra
own
special.
way.
Yeah, it's not like
John and Arya.
Arya, right? Yeah. Or Jaime and Cersei, definitely not like
They're
Jaime and
definitely
Cersei.
Well, actually, the TV show did give it a bit of that, if you remember.
Well, yeah, that's true. It did. Well, the last time we met them, or rather, the last time that they met, she had come to Winterfell from Deepwood Motte and was begging him to come back to Deepwood Motte with her, and he refused. He wanted to stay and be the Prince of Winterfell.
Do you remember this? This probably didn't come up because there wasn't really an equivalent chapter. But in the TV show, they put that scene in Ramsay's dungeons at the Dreadfort.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
She broke in and tried to rescue Theon, but he was already so reekified that he said no, he didn't want to come, and stayed.
I remember that. Yeah, that's very different than how it played out. He was the Prince of Winterfell still when she came to try and talk sense into him.
His reasons for saying no, he said no in both instances, but his reasons for saying no, one was pride and still wanting to be all he could be, and the other one was because he was not what she thought he was anymore.
Right. Yeah, he was too scared to run afoul of Ramsay.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't be, or they might not be, passing ships here. They might be together for a while. Although, as I say that, the Northmen are also going to want his blood, because the whole reason they joined with Stannis is revenge for the Starks.
Yes, they may be together tied to a pole in the snow.
Yes, that could be. Well, Stannis, he does always have need of king's blood, but he doesn't need 2 Greyjoy hostages necessarily.
Yeah, unless he's planning to take pints a day, he should.
Well, yeah. If he's got some leeches around, if they haven't frozen. Although, again, on one hand, that is true, but on the other hand, no one has as intimate familiarity of what's happening inside Winterfell right now as Theon and Jane Poole.
Jane, yes. We do know who that other person was. It's Jane. Yes.
Yeah. Now, they might not know who she is. It depends on if they divulge, if she and Theon divulge that she is Jane Poole and not Arya Stark.
I would assume that they keep that to themselves as long as possible. You know, you reveal that when in extremis. You know, maybe if Stannis says, "I tell you what, we're going to do with Theon Greyjoy. I'm going to burn him." I might be like, "Well, before you do, Can I trade my life for one incredible piece of information which you will not believe?
Yeah, it's tricky because one of his stated missions about this trip, about this siege of Winterfell, was to rescue the princess if I can. Rescue the girl, I think. Not princess. He would never call her princess because that means that he wouldn't be the king. But
he's recognizing someone else's claim to the throne, which I believe he rejects, yes.
Rescue the girl if I can, and she's pretty much been dropped in his lap, and so he can say to Jon, look, I lived up to my promise. I rescued the girl.
Exactly. If Stannis wants out of this, he could head back north at this point if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And then I wonder where Theon's loyalty might lie then at that conversation, because Theon he's probably very nervous to go back to Winterfell on the one hand.
Yeah.
Because if Stannis were to lose and he were to end up back in Ramsay's hands, that would be really bad.
Really bad, yeah.
But on the flip side, if Stannis were to win, then Ramsay would get his comeuppance, you would like to imagine. And that would be tempting to Theon, for sure.
It's a gamble. Definitely a gamble.
And to Jane as well, you know.
Yeah, part of the issue is if Jane and Theon don't reveal her true identity, and he masquerades this young woman around and takes her to Jon and is like, look what I did, I brought the girl home, and he's like, Jon's like, that's Jane Poole, that's not Arya. Right. I mean, Theon, Stannis isn't the kind of guy who's going to be like, oh shoot, I got the wrong girl, like, you know. He's going to be very angry.
Oh, you kids, you meddling kids.
Exactly. So there's a bit of a risk there.
Yeah, that is interesting where this could head, because it could go in multiple different directions. I mean, it'd be interesting if Theon did try to out Jane, you know, and then if things don't go the way that Jane wants, her maybe denying it, saying, he's lying. He's trying to get out of this fight. You should set him on fire.
Yeah, I wonder how that would all play out if she denied it.
Right.
I don't know that she's got the energy to deny it.
That's possibly true. She seems almost as broken as Reek at this point.
Yeah, pretty close.
So
it's the Ramsay effect.
Yes, indeed. He does seem to have this effect on everyone he meets. Yes. So I liked the fact in 2 consecutive chapters we had big characters, big fellas, intentionally butchering names just for the fun of it. This time, so last time it was Arch Greenwood.
Yeah, it was Archibald Ironwood.
Ironwood. Yes, that's it. Green Guts. Yes.
Yes. Green Guts.
Who was calling everybody in Marine by sort of some random... Yes.
I think it was Harzu.
Yeah. Now Big Bucket Wool is calling Relor Red Ralu, which I like very much.
Close enough. Yeah, it's... This unending snow is causing a bit of a holy war amongst Stannis' army. With the North, they blame Red Ralu, and the Southrons blame the old gods. And we even, when Asha and Justin Massey go into the longhall, which is basically where everyone that's not a small folk is congregating, there's a ditch of flames. Like they built a fire that runs kind of the length of the hall right down the middle. And the Northerners, what she calls the wolves, sit on one side, and the Southern lords and knights sit on the other side, and there seems to be serious animosity between them, and that could be dangerous if ever they need to fight side by side.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's inevitable. There's a sort of north-south divide in the Seven Kingdoms, which will always make the two sides a little bit fractious towards one another. But what you need is a powerful king keeping an eye on things, telling you what you can and can't get away with, and forcing them to... But Stannis has withdrawn, apparently. So that's not happening, and the division is growing more and more pronounced. I will say, actually, I think both sides have to accept the blame and the possible release. You can't blame the old gods for the snow and then say that R'hllor is going to be the one that gets you out of it. Either it's R'hllor or it's the old gods.
Right.
So if you blame the old gods, then appease the old gods. If you blame R'hllor, then appease R'hllor. But you can't blame one and then appease the other. That doesn't work.
Right. Which one's upset, and let's fix it.
Right, yeah, exactly. One of them's upset. You need to tell it to that one.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. Hopefully, their hatred for their common enemy will help bring them together if the time comes.
Right, and actually the whole of this chapter sort of revitalizes the whole point of this mission. You know, there is now a prospect, however faint, of them going to Winterfell and winning it again, which at the end of the last Asha chapter did not look like there was any prospect at all. It just looked like they were all going to die here. Yeah. But now several things have happened. Arnolf Karstark's arrival with reinforcements, knowing that Mor's Umber is at Winterfell with more reinforcements.
Yeah.
And, I mean, these guys are moving around.
Right.
Was Stannis' army just being lazy?
They just gave up. It's too cold.
The lake's empty. We might as well carry on.
Yeah, now it's time. But the two groups are faring very differently, Asha points out. The Northmen look hale and healthy, whereas the Southrons look gaunt and sick. And I would chalk a lot of that up to the Southrons didn't prepare for these northern winters when they left Dragonstone.
Right.
You know, the wrong horses, the wrong clothing. They didn't even know what bear paws were, which are basically like snowshoes that the northern clansmen are using.
Yeah, and they have the wrong kinds of horses that can't cope with these kinds of conditions. Yeah, I mean it makes a lot of sense. It kind of reminds me of this probably wasn't taught in American history classes, but the first person to climb Mount Everest was an English guy. That's why it gets taught in England.
So Mallory, right?
No, close. It's Edmund Hillary.
Hillary, that's right. Yeah. Hillary,
But he got to the top with a local guide, a Sherpa, whose name was Tenzing. In my imagination of what was going on that thing, the Sherpa Tenzing was running up that thing backwards, dragging the bedraggled Englishman all the way to the top, so that the Englishman could claim that he did it. Because Tenzing was at the top, and he found his wife and kids waiting up there, cooking some soup for them, because they do it all the time.
Right. Yeah.
In this analogy, by the way, Sherpa Tenzing is the North, and Hillary is the Southron. Just to be clear.
Yeah. I read that book Into Thin Air by John Krakauer about the about summiting Everest. It's a pretty fascinating read. If you have not read it,
I have not.
Things go awry, but
I don't relish the thought. I have to say.
Nor do I. I think it's got to be a certain type.
Yeah.
To be interested in doing something
it's like
that.
If someone wrote a book about sort of getting to a point where you can put your hand on molten metal, you know, it takes a lot of pain and effort to get there, but eventually you can do it. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to do that to myself.
Right.
Because no one else has done it. Right, well there is a reason.
There's a reason, exactly.
The mountain is too big. There are gaps between the mountains. Let's aim for those. The one that I read that I really enjoyed was Touching the Void. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast about the two English guys who climbed some mountain in South America in the Andes, and on the way down, one of them falls into a crevasse, and because it's just two of them, they're just roped to each other.
Oh.
And so he's hanging in the crevasse, and the other one is being dragged towards it, and the other one has to make a decision about what to do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
terrible.
It's a great story. It's an amazing story. I mean, as survival stories go, it is genuinely miraculous that they got out.
Touching the Void.
They did both survive. Touching the Void.
Okay, all right.
It's a movie as well. You can see the movie of it, and they sort of reenact parts of it, and it's absolutely incredible. All right, where were we?
Where were we?
We digress. I will say, at some point, do you accept that it's not working and stop burning people?
Yeah, so the question is, Can random followers of R'hllor conjure results, or do you have to be a priest or a priestess?
Or is it possible that R'hllor really hates leeches? All you have to do is burn leeches. It doesn't matter what's in them. Right. It's just leeches.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the key. It's so the 4 men they're burned alive, sacrificed.
3 of them. One of them actually gets himself,
true. Yes.
Cleverly gets himself dead before the burning.
Yes, and it's awful. It's awful what they did.
We skipped over some of the description.
Yes.
It's awful what they did, but it's not. It's what
Right.
they did is awful, but it's what every single person on Earth would do in extremis.
Yeah.
You know?
It's even more hard. It's even more difficult to blame them because the small folk are starving. The lords and the knights, they're given horse meat. They spend their nights in a warm long hall with food served and fires blazing. The small folk are left to their own devices,
right?
Which is nothing. They have nothing.
And I wonder if some of that motivates the burning. Like it's like, well, that's 4 less mouths to feed. Let's do it.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Mm-hmm. It's really hypocritical to judge these starving men for desperate actions when the ones who are doing the judging aren't in that position.
They might as well embrace the hypocrisy, because what they should do is go up and carve off the meat from the men they've just burned and serve it to the rest of them. You know, say, there's meat tonight, guys.
Right.
These guys were guilty of cannibalism. Enjoy, you know.
Right, yeah. Can I just say that Sir Clayton Suggs sucks?
Yeah,
he's...
So he's the one that Asha thinks is... he doesn't care about R'hllor. He just loves the brutality of R'hllor's religion. And that's one of the things... Maybe there's validity to what R'hllor's religion talks about. I mean, we've definitely seen evidence that R'hllor has some power, and it definitely involves fire, so maybe burning people is the right thing to do. But if you have a religion that has that kind of thing as its basis, you are going to attract the psychotic.
Yes.
And that's what Suggs is, in Asha's opinion. And Justin Massey backs it up. Along the way, they tortured people, and whenever there was torturing to be done, especially of young women, Suggs was there to lend a hand. Right.
And it's exactly the Hound's issue with the hypocrisy of knighthood. This is Suggs is anointed in oils and prayers and took vows to defend the weak and innocent, and he's described by Asha anyway as an absolute monster, mean, cruel, quick to violence, enjoys torturing, especially women, as you just said. He's reveling in the idea of burning Asha. And like you were saying, he's more or less, he's likely a pyromaniac. He loves the flame and the burning of things.
And the other thing is, he's not even a Northman, so he doesn't really have an axe to grind with the Greyjoys. You know?
Yeah.
You could imagine at least a Northman who had converted to R'hllor, who was like really loving the flames and liked to torture people and hurt people. At least he would have a motivation for being, you know, for wanting Asha to go to the flames. This guy has no reason to want Asha to go to the flames. He
just wants to see it because he'll enjoy it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I had thought about doing a background on House Suggs, but there isn't House Suggs. There wasn't enough background for me to do it, so I can just tell you that he's a former hedge knight from Flea Bottom in King's Landing, now sworn to Stannis. And as Asha points out, his sigil is a flying pig, which he says is appropriate because he has pig-like eyes.
Do you picture him as the guy who played for the Baltimore Ravens?
Guy who played for the Baltimore
Wasn't there a Suggs played for the Baltimore Ravens?
Tyrell Suggs.
I always imagine you picturing every bad guy as a different Baltimore Raven. You know?
Yeah,
one of these guys is Ray Lewis for sure. You know,
right? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I probably do that somewhere subconsciously.
So Suggs, I mean, Suggs is not. He's not without redemption. Just to be clear, and I'm not saying this is redemption, but he accuses Justin Massey of scheming, and his scheming involving Asha. What do we think this is? What do we think he's talking about here?
Well, Asha has the same idea. She thinks that Justin, is cozying up to her because he hopes to marry her and rule the Iron Islands through her. Because now there is very vague because he's a knight, not a lord, but he has lost, I believe she points it out in one of the previous chapters, that he has lost his ancestral lands for supporting Stannis, and House Massey is a crownlands house, so they would be one of the first to lose their lands, being so close to King's Landing. Now, I'll say he also was once Robert Baratheon's squire, and it's said that he developed an appetite for women, so maybe he fancies Asha. Or maybe he's just a decent, reasonable guy who's truly looking out for her. His motivation's not completely clear yet to us.
Yeah, but it's interesting that as the chapter goes by, he gets accused of being a coward by
Richard Horpe.
Richard Horpe accuses him of being a coward. And as a result of that, he storms out of the longhall. And Asha then says, oh, he is cowardly. He should have stood up and fought for himself at that point. If there's any truth to this, which, there's smoke here. I'm not saying there's fire, but there's smoke here to say he is a bit cowardly. Would you really want to be king of the Iron Islands?
Right. He does not get how it works on the Iron Islands, clearly.
Right. I mean, look, there's Bear Island. There's plenty of Mormont girls, right?
Right.
Marry one of those, At least they're not all finger-dancing nutcases.
You really should talk some sense to him.
Right. So I'm going to say maybe that's not his motivation. Maybe, like you said, he's just a womanizer who kind of likes Asha. So
yeah.
I got to say, if I was a knight with aspirations to sort of the Iron Islands would be the last place I'd want to inherit.
Yeah, it doesn't work like it does on the Greenland, as they call
it.
The
right, even if it did. I mean, even if you sort of married into the throne, you'd be terrified every minute of the day. These people are crazy.
But he also seems to have lost his faith in R'hllor, and I believe it's Ali Mormont that says, have you lost your faith in R'hllor? And he says, R'hllor and other things, or more than just R'hllor, or something along those lines.
Yeah, he definitely seems to have lost his faith in what they're trying to achieve here, and with reasonable reason, I think.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I wondered though if after these sacrifices in this chapter, if the snow subsides and the sun comes out, if it will restore his faith in R'hllor, or if he's too far lost at this point.
Well, to a certain extent, if I was a priest of R'hllor, I would point to the fact that 20 riders appeared with horses. And,
right. Yeah.
See?
That was R'hllor that did that.
That was R'hllor did that.
As far as Stannis and his cause goes, he can't be alone in questioning what he has signed up for at this point.
No.
They're all starving and freezing and dying off. And he straight up says, you will not take Winterfell. And he did hold his ground for a while, being called a craven.
Against quite a few people,
yes.
Yeah. But his point there was that they should stay put. But it was like, really? Is that actually good? I'm not saying marching on Winterfell and besieging Winterfell when it's going to take you perhaps another 19 days to march these 3 days to Winterfell, and you're going to be utterly exhausted when you get there, is a good idea. I'm just not sure living in a foodless village while it snows until you die is a great plan either.
Right. Yeah. Well, Massey said, push on to Winterfell, and what are you going to do? Siege the walls with weak, starving men? And then he goes back and forth with various people who are disagreeing with him, and he says, siege Winterfell and die. Stay here and die. Retreat and die. And he's not entirely wrong. There's not a lot of good options here. They're kind of really stuck.
Yeah, but hey, one of the things about leadership is you've got to come up with alternatives. You can't just say everything's crap, we're all going to die.
We're all going to die. Yeah.
It's not that helpful, Justin,
Speaking of sieging, of of this army going forward with the plan and basically fighting the Bolton army is it is mentioned, it's actually Massey that mentions it, that they went from 800 horses when they left Deepwood Motte to 64 horses as of today's count.
Yeah.
Can a horseless army even defeat the Bolton army?
Yeah, you see, you would say, well, you don't really need horses to siege, but at the same time, if they ride out against you, then you're in some trouble. Now, we know, and this is what you said before, Theon's intel might be very useful. The stables collapsed in Winterfell, killing a bunch of horses.
Yeah.
So maybe it could all work out for them. But you're right. I mean, if I was them, I'd be very carefully considering the possibilities of success if I go to Winterfell. It ain't certain, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
But maybe what Theon's intel could tell them is that there's enough strife inside Winterfell for them to have a real chance, that they could sort of like, that they don't need to win. If they just turn up, blow their horns, and look like they might win, things could turn inside Winterfell and they wouldn't even have to fight.
Yeah, that's something. If I were Theon, I would be making those kind of proclamations.
Right. Well, I would be making a list of them, and I would be selling them for the things I need. You know.
Yeah, piecing them out, very small bits at a time.
I have 10 pieces of information. Piece number 1, my life, you get piece number 1. And all the good stuff comes after the other 9.
Piece number 1.1.
Yeah. So the King's Squire Brian Farring, a cousin to Godry, succumbed to the elements. Godry is the most godly of the Southern Knights, it seems. He's the one who's always leading the priest to a lord. Yeah. But this squire, Brian Farring, succumbed to the elements. That was 4 days ago. Since then, Stannis had been seen on the watchtower and looking sort of sad and lonely and forlorn, not interacting with people. Does that sound like Stannis? Do you think Stannis cares about the death of a squire?
I don't think it's... I think it must be more than that. There's other conjectures that he is staring into his fires and calling out, trying to reach Melisandre. And I would think... maybe that death of his squire caused something to snap, and he thought, I need Melisandre's help. And so he spent his time reaching out for her. This Brian Farring is exactly, his fate is exactly why Melisandre asked to keep Devon Seaworth with her at Castle Black, because she felt like Davos had lost enough sons.
Oh, that's why this is getting mentioned, actually, isn't it? It's to tell us this is what would have happened were it not for Melisandre. Right. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
And Richard Horpe, he is seen wearing his 3 Death Head Moth sigil, which we just recently heard of that sigil from Tormund.
We did. I couldn't remember.
Tormund Giantsbane mentioned to Jon that when his son Dormund was killed by a man wearing a 3 moth sigil, so it very possibly could have been Richard Horpe.
Very nice, thank you very much. So Arnolf Karstark has shown up. So remind us what Arnolf Karstark's treachery is here. So we understand from don't tell me her name, Alice Karstark.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you.
I was going to say Brady Bunch housekeeper. Brady Bunch. No, wouldn't
helped.
Okay.
Not have helped. But I'm guessing the Brady Bunch's housekeeper was called Alice?
Yes.
Hey,
yes, she was.
Look at me. 2 for 2.
Way to piece that together.
I know. He showed up with a small force. It would be a small contingent were it not for the attrition that's gone on in Stannis' force. It's actually quite a considerable addition to Stannis' force.
Yes, more than 400 men.
The thing about them having, this is almost pedantry, but the thing about them having provisions for themselves, are they eating sort of like half rations while all the people around them starve? Is that what's going on?
It sure sounds like it. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me too.
Well, good luck to you guys.
Yeah. But so he's planning treachery against Stannis, right?
Yes. So he shows up with a son and 3 grandsons because his oldest son, Cregan, is a bit occupied at the moment. You might recall he chased his betrothed, Alice Karstark, to Castle Black, where Jon had him thrown in an ice cell.
Cells.
And Alice told Jon that Arnolf had 2 reasons for backing Stannis. One was to betray him whenever Roose gave some sort of signal or in some way gave him some indication that it was time to betray Stannis. And the other was in hopes of angering the Lannisters so that they kill his great-nephew Harrion, who is now the Lord, since his father was killed.
Right.
So those were the 2 reasons. And then the plan was that Cregan, Arnulf's son, would marry Alice, and Cregan would rule through her, then have a son, and so on and so forth.
And we're right to observe that this is him turning the tables on Stannis required support from the Boltons. I mean, he was going to be a much smaller force than Stannis' own force. But as we said, the attrition of Stannis' force means that actually Arnolf Karstark could almost do this by himself at this point.
Yeah.
Not 100%. But it also might be, given the intel we're about to get from Theon, I wonder if Arnolf Karstark might start to think, I want to keep my powder dry here because I don't know how this is going to play out.
Right. It makes the end of this chapter even more fascinating than just Asha and just a Greyjoy reunion here, because Tycho Nestoris was at Castle Black when Alice arrived, and a bird, Jon sent a bird to Deepwood Motte with Alice's word of Arnulf's treachery.
Yep.
So, even if Tycho was thinking, this is none of my business, I'm not getting involved, that bird might have hopefully arrived at Deepwood Motte before Tycho got there, and she would have given it to one of the Ironborn or Black.
Tycho Harris himself.
Yeah. Some of the Night's Watch. Yeah, we're also with him. Someone to give the information to Stannis.
Yeah.
So the question is, if we assume that the message will be delivered, will Stannis believe it?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's so momentous here, because if Arnolf Karstark thought that this message might be getting to Stannis, he might have to act now precipitously.
Yeah.
Or to say something along the lines of, hey, I was keeping my options open. If you hear anything weird from these people, let me tell you, I'm Team Stannis now, for sure.
Right. But he's sitting here in the longhall, urging them to march and promising within a moon's turn you'll have victory. And I wonder if maybe Roose got a message to him about the dire situation inside the castle and urged Arnulf to hurry Stannis along.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's working with the Northmen because he is playing on the wrongs done to the Starks.
Right.
So,
So, just in Massey's path to Asha is somewhat blocked now because Tris Botley has arrived, and Tris Botley obviously is another Asha admirer, and so he and Carl the Maid and some other Ironborn were rescued from Deepwood Motte, or rather ransomed from Deepwood Motte by Tycho Nestoris, because, and again, this was kind of nicely done. She needed money. She didn't want those mouths to feed. Nestoris needed support for this, dangerous march south. All of this made perfect sense. So that's quite a few extra Ironborn there. And now I wonder, these Ironborn fought Stannis' army earlier, but now they're going to be subsumed into it at this point. Is this going to be yet more friction?
That is true. Now, there's only a handful of them. I think there's 6 or 7 or 8 or so. But yeah, to your first point, the love triangle has been reignited because Christopher Botley is in love with Asha, but Asha and Carl the Maid are in a relationship. So we've got Justin Massey, so it's actually a love square. Everybody, it's more like a love fan because everything's pointing toward
I like
Asha.
what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten that she's actually sleeping with Carl the Maid as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember, Triss told her of.
I wish she'd thought about this as they arrived. Like, oh God, no, not you as well. Oh.
Right. That's all I need is more men fawning over me.
You have beautiful hair.
But Triss told Asha about Torgon Latecomer, remember? The son of the king of the Iron Islands that wasn't present for the King's Moot, and then Urathon, good brother, was chosen as king, and then Torgon arrived and claimed the King's Moot was unlawful, and he had overwhelming support and ultimately ruled for 40 years, and Asha kissed him when she heard this story, and we assumed at the time that the plan was to do that same thing with Theon to oust their uncle Euron.
Right.
And here Theon has been delivered to her.
The only element missing from that plan was Theon. Now here he is amongst them.
Although Euron has been bribing men with lordships and promises of Westeros and dragons, so it might be a tougher sell that he is not the rightful king, considering he is a Greyjoy at least. Yeah.
So is Tycho Daenerys going to be the savior here, or is he now just as snowbound as everybody else? I mean, it feels like he's been zipping around the north while Stannis has been sitting here doing nothing. I mean, obviously
he really has.
Yeah, it's a much smaller force, and that's easier to move. But at the same time, he's also carrying his own weight in gold, which no one else has to do.
And he told Jon that the Iron Bank is willing to back Stannis if Stannis will agree to assume the crown's debt to the Iron Bank, in which case he might be able to purchase a sellsword army or whatever he feels like he needs.
I have two problems with that. One is Stannis and sellswords, not a good mix.
Yeah, that is true.
And the other thing is that assuming that debt, right, is one thing, okay? So you're saying, okay, yes, I'm going to be king of the Seven Kingdoms. The Seven Kingdoms has a debt to the Iron Bank. I will pay that back. The only reason you do that is to take another huge loan from the Iron Bank, thus creating a situation in which you will never be able to repay them. I don't know who benefits from this. The Iron Bank can't think that's a good idea. And Stannis, it's a good idea for Stannis in the short term, but it's terrible in the long term.
They're going to check Stannis' credit history and be like,
I know!
Not so sure about this.
It'd be funny if the credit history says always pays his debts or something like that.
Wait a second. But I just wanted to mention poor Jane, not poor Grolio this time, but poor Jane Poole. She might lose some of her nose. Asha points out that the end of her nose is black from frostbite.
I'll go with a small price to pay to get away from what she was going through.
True, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, Jane Poole is a character we can only sympathise with because she's had it rough for sure. But again, did R'hllor come good? Because this is a real change in the fortunes of this group, right on the cusp of that fire.
Yeah, I'm sure, like you said, fervent believers will point to this as look what R'hllor did for us.
I think Suggs was actually sort of like chewing on the legs of one of the burnt men when
he was. Yeah. I noticed he was hanging out by the fire by himself,
just making sure they were dead by chewing on them. Or is it possible one of those Peasbody men happened to be royal? Was he actually a Targaryen?
Or a Baratheon bastard. Or Robert Baratheon bastard.
Yes. It'd be funny if he hadn't burned, if he just walked out of the fire, like, didn't even burn.
Then Targaryen.
I wonder what R'hllor does to that. Like, I didn't get a sacrifice.
And the mystery of the army outside of Winterfell that Roose thought was Stannis has been solved. Yes. We knew it wasn't Stannis because he was stuck in the snow.
Was Tycho going, is anybody here? Is anybody here?
That's what it was, yeah.
Because
So it turns
presumably
out...
Mors Umber and his handful of green men, the last thing they would do would honk the horn to invite...
Well, so yeah, it turns out it was Mors Umber and his men banging drums and blowing horns. And remember, Mors Umber sided with Stannis, where his brother Hother sided with the Boltons, and we have conjectured that they are just trying to make sure they're on the right side regardless how this plays out.
So is Hother inside Winterfell?
He is.
Yes. You see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Stannis cannot win this by Stannis methods, but by subterfuge and politics, he can win this.
It's looking more and more possible as we know what's going on inside that castle.
Yep. All right, excellent. It's time for some spoilers. The upper tiers of the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer levels get you the spoilers. You can try any level for free for a week and see if you like the spoilers. Mackelly does a lot of work on them. I hope you appreciate them, especially now when he's trying to draw blood from a stone. I tell you,
we have some good ones this week.
Well, there you go. Excellent. Really good. Thank you for those spoilers. I really enjoyed those. You were right. It was a particularly rich vein.
Yeah.
All right. How about some background?
Well, there were very few options in this chapter since we've already...
Snow. The Eskimo words for snow.
We'd already talked previously about House Massey in a not too long ago background. So I'll quickly tell you about a different house whose family member is featured in this chapter. That's Robin Peasbury. He's in an awkward spot because 4 of his men were caught eating another man.
Yeah.
And rumors have spread that Peasbury not only knew, but also partook in the incident.
Mm-hmm. Didn't help that his sigil is like a big leg roasting over a fire.
the Merryweather, what's it called? One of those things that the food goes in.
Mouth?
The Merryweather sigil, like the...
Oven?
Thanksgiving, it's like a
cornucopia.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Yes. I kept thinking Capricorn, and I was like, it's not Capricorn. I know this. Yes. Anyway, so Robin Peasbury is actually the Lord of House Peasbury, and his seat is Potting Field, which is located in the Stormlands.
Okay.
And the house's sigil is an open green pea pod with the peas visible inside on a white field, and the sigil is bordered by 3 rows of green peas.
And none of the peas are in human form?
No.
Okay, good. Just checking.
None that I could see anyway.
Mm-hmm. All right, excellent. Comparison with the television show, I would say of all the characters in the book, as POV characters at least, Asha, who was renamed again in the show, Yara, probably changed the most. In fact, her being renamed was a harbinger for how much they were going to change her story. By this point in the book, she's in Essos.
Wow.
I know.
That's a
she's
long
doing
way away.
All kinds of different things. There's no similarity here whatsoever. Pedantry, I didn't really see anything. I mean,
Nor did I.
All right, news and notes then.
Well, I probably should have mentioned this to you before I'm saying it right now, but...
I had actually done my homework and read this, so I'm not totally surprised.
Well, we do need, we have a sustainer call planned. I just need to get it scheduled. So Simon and I will put our heads together and figure out a date. So if you are part of a Buy Me a Coffee tier that includes sustainer calls, well, keep an eye out on your email inbox for an invite.
Excellent. Sounds good. And I'll let you read out, because I always steal the nice reviews that we get. But I'll just preface the review by telling you that I didn't tell you this. I told you that I went to the beach and I went to a little town, and in that little town I saw a friend saw me and shouted,
Yep.
We went to a bar and we hung out, and it was me and Carson and the barman. And we got talking about Game of Thrones. We talked about Song of Ice and Fire. And I mentioned the podcast.
Yes. Finally.
I did it. I actually mentioned the podcast. And this guy's name, you can probably guess what I talked about when I tell you what this guy's name is. This guy's name was Chandler.
Oh.
Okay. Guess what I asked him?
Does he know what a Chandler is?
No. That's a much better question than the one I asked him. Mine was way more puerile. I asked him, was he older or younger than the show Friends?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Because I was thinking about it, like the people in Friends, they roughly have like common names that, if you heard, like when I thought about this, I have a relative called Phoebe. It never once occurred to me that she had the same name as one of the characters in Friends, because it's just a name,
Right.
But Chandler is a strange name, and it's kind of unique to Friends. And the guy said he was older than Friends, so he was born before Friends, and sort of like, but his mum really liked it, and he said he never really watched it, so he didn't really know what the character Chandler was like. I was like, that's fascinating. Well. But he was a big Game of Thrones, a big A Song of Ice and Fire. Right. He'd read them all. He knew his stuff. I was quite embarrassed, honestly, because I really rely on you quite heavily. I realized, and when it's just me and Carson being quizzed about my knowledge, I'm like, I come up short quite a few times. So. But he was super nice, and it was really nice to meet him. So I did say I'd give him a shout out on the next podcast, and then promptly forgot. But now,
here we are. Yeah, here's another chance.
Yeah. So have this one.
All right. Well, how would you pronounce it?
I would say that's Lefequevron.
I think it's an I.
Oh, Ifequevron.
All right. So Ifequevron from podchaser.com. And it goes like this. This is my favorite and only podcast I listen to. Simon and Mackelly have kept me company since the dark days of COVID. After all this time, I still enjoy their little stories of everyday life, which is good to hear, because that's also something people complain about. So
yeah.
Their witty banter and good knowledge.
It's divisive. Let's put it that way.
Their witty banter and good knowledge of A Song of Ice and Fire lore make me come back to the universe over and over again. And by now, I mostly hope The Winds of Winter gets published just so that I can continue listening to their podcast. Give them a listen. You won't regret it. Wow. Well, thank you.
Thanks a million, Ifequevron.
Yes.
I'm
really
sure there's a rude word hiding in there that I just keep saying.
We're like those news bloopers where
he's giggling away like.
Yes, thank you so much. Wonderful review.
Yeah, thank you so much for the nice review. All right, let's conclude this one. So Stannis' army is in serious peril, and they haven't even met their enemy yet. We knew they were in peril, but there's a change point coming. There's a bifurcation where things could go in multiple different directions.
Right.
And the key character is indeed Theon Greyjoy, because he has information that could really change things. But then so does Tris Bartley, so does Tycho Nestoris, and so the whole future of the northern part of this story hangs in the balance right this second.
Yeah, and Arnolf Karstark is having some sort of influence at this point. We know he has nefarious intentions. So how is that going to fit with all of these situations that are going on? And we've got Tycho Nestoris, who knows information, or likely has a letter at the very least from Jon with information about Arnolf Karstark. Is that about to all be revealed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Things are going to change. And the sibling reunion, it's always nice. I mean, this one is hard because they've not been sundered by external forces. They've been sundered by choice from one another, especially Theon's choice. And so because of that, it's got to be difficult for Asha not to say, I told you so. And that might just ruin their relationship forever.
Well, yeah, I'm not even sure that Theon is in a position to even put up a fight about things at this point. But it's glad to see. I'm glad to see that, first of all, Theon and Jane survived the fall.
Yes.
Off of the 80-foot tower.
Man, can Jane just go somewhere nice and warm and live out her days?
It's not the sibling reunion we've all been hoping for, which would be a Stark sibling reunion, but it's still nice. Maybe could this improve both of their mental well-being, or maybe it could make it worse? Could Theon recover some of his old Theonness? Maybe
I think there's layers of Theonness, and most of the layers that are missing are decent. It's just the deepest layers you get back to the callous scheming Theon, and I think that one is gone for good.
Hope so.
Yeah,
that's the part we wouldn't mind him losing.
So next week we're going to check in on their uncle Victarion and how his new hand treatment is going. I'm going to guess that we edit it out because I'm pretty sure it's going to be repulsive and horrible.
We'll see, I guess.
Mm-hmm. There's 3 ways that you can help us. You could leave us a 5-star rating and a positive review like Ifetleru did. You can buy us a cup of Arbor Gold at buymeacoffee.com/ghostharrenhall. There you can join us at any of the various sustainer levels. There's a tier to match your budget and interest. You can try out any tier you like for a week. And the upper tiers get you the spoilers, and some of the upper tiers also get you the sustainer calls. So join now, and you might get to have a chat with us. Or you can make a donation directly to our cause at our website, ghostsofharrenhall.buzzsprout.com.
And if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, one thing you can do is you can leave us a text. The link is at the top of every episode show notes. Please keep in mind we don't have a means of responding, but we do enjoy reading them. And if you're looking to keep up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, you can always check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.